So now showing at Bakker Gallery is the first ever Evelin Bodfish Bourne Retrospective. Jim is going to give us a little tour and he's going to give us a little history about Evelin. And here he is. Hi, Jim.
Greetings.
So everyone in town knows that you're sort of like the champion of the, what would you call it? The
women artists.
Women artists
championing.
Okay, the rediscovery of these women. Okay. So what happened with Evelin Bodfish Bourne? Because you have quite a bit of documentation here. You've got her National Academy of Design. What are these? These are awards or certificates?
These are all certificates that she won. Evelin was born in 1892 in Wareham.
Okay.
And
she obviously went to school in New York.
Well, when she was 3 months old, this was in July that she was born. Okay. So her father was a successful illustrator in New York City and exhibited at the National Academy.
Oh, that's right. We actually had an item in our online auction that was
it kind of played into the fact that she would wind up studying for years at the National Academy of Design.
Fantastic.
1912,
okay.
1913, 1914, she won various prizes.
Okay.
Basically moved back permanently to Massachusetts, to Wareham.
Okay. I think she married
in 1918.
Yeah. Okay.
When she married her husband John.
Okay.
And he bought a house in Buzzards Bay in 1920.
Okay.
And they basically settled over there.
Down there. And now in 1920, Wareham seems pretty far away from Provincetown, and yet we now know we have this incredible record of Evelin Bodfish Bourne exhibiting at Provincetown for like 30 years, starting in the 20s.
Started, 1923. And
okay.
You can see just from
so
the chain of event, these are
the PAM records.
Yeah.
So she starts up here.
In 1923 through the 20s, the real women pioneer. In 1953, and of course she died in 1954.
Is it common for somebody to have exhibited so consistently for that long?
She clearly loved it here, and she formed a great friendship with Blanche Lazelle and Dorothy Loeb. And in the 1940s, there's actually correspondence from William Littlefield, another artist that we've featured in the gallery, helping her to put together her resume and how she should be doing things.
Okay.
Which he comments, interestingly enough, that he doesn't really know much about selling because he didn't have that kind of success during his lifetime.
Okay, so he was prolific too. So how does somebody who is so prolific, somebody who has exhibited at PAM for such a long period of time, sort of disappear from the record?
Well, I think that when the family kind of deals with the mourning and the whole thing, somehow there's a whole period where I think that there's so emotionally attached that they don't necessarily even think about continuing. Or in the 50s when this happened, Margaret Patterson died in 1950, and her work didn't get rediscovered until much later. In the same way, Evelin Bourne, kind of in this situation. I wind up seeing an ad for an estate auction down in Hyannis in November of 2006. So November will be 9 years.
9 years.
Basically,
so it's
been sitting on this.
Right. It's a relatively new discovery then.
It is because people really weren't aware, of her status and relationship, to other, Provincetown painters, but clearly, if you're down in Buzzards Bay, Provincetown would probably be a great trip to, be coming up and seeing all your artist friends, and we think that they went down there. There were things inscribed from Lazelle to Bourne.
And actually, you have quite a bit of documentation that probably came with the estate in terms of letters and things like that.
Like letters and other things. Even the publicity photos that she would send out, and here you see like one of the early photos of the sunflowers and wagon, some
Okay,
really
so this is
gorgeous
remarkable.
drawings.
So if we're talking about people, everyone has heard about the Edith Lake Wilkinson story and the HBO documentary, and in here it's sort of ironic because Evelin Bourne started exhibiting right
at the point
that
Edith was at
left
her peak.
At her peak. Okay, so this is all the same period. Okay,
She was
fantastic,
institutionalized. So
amazing.
it's clear that
Many stories of women who just
kind of intertwine.
Gotcha. So Jim's going to just take us on a little bit of a tour.
See the
Should we just go ahead and start
Sure,
here then?
why not? We have a picnic, probably a study relating to, one of her major paintings.
Right. Okay.
Again, you saw like a little sketch of
And
it.
there's actually, yes, the study
here
for it there.
Yeah.
Great. So she did circus things?
She did. Well, we
Okay.
actually think that this actually may have been done in Martha's Vineyard, apparently.
Okay.
Where she also went to, we have the other carousel horse.
Carousel
I think
horse
it's
there.
dated 1939.
Okay, fantastic.
One of the things that becomes really clear is her love of her garden and her animals. They had a beautiful farm down in Buzzards Bay.
Cat and Costco, Cat and Yucca.
And the cat kind of frequently appears, I
Okay.
think, with Evelyn by the stove.
Okay.
We have those, llamas.
Llamas.
And, her trips up to Provincetown where she did
And
these
this
kind
is-
of wonderful. These are probably from, the 20s.
And these are
that
gorgeous.
beginning time
Just
period,
wonderful
the
watercolors.
beginning of the telephone lines, and the
Right.
boats in the harbor.
Okay.
A view, garden with the sunflower.
Okay,
And
and
again,
there is that
there's the painting from 1938,
painting, okay. And
the
that's probably
wagon with the sunflowers.
Buzzards Bay, you think?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe that it is.
Okay.
Because you don't really get that topography here.
Right. And then we have this entire wall of oils.
Oils,
So
and you hear kind of a wonderful, you see 1912 morning, October 1st, 5 pounds, 6 ounces, Evelin Bodfish.
I just love this
And,
painting. It's gorgeous.
And probably from the National Academy, very
Okay.
traditional portrait from probably 1912,
Portrait of the
1913.
artist as a young man. That's
And
gorgeous.
probably someone in her class.
Yeah. Someone said he looks like Matt Damon.
A little bit. Again, the love for the flowers and the tulips.
Can I ask you, because we had a still life show, and a lot of people say her palette's really dark. Can you just explain what that's about? Is it the age, the
I think
years?
it's kind of this
mean,
period,
this period?
in a way, people had described some of the still lives as being very reminiscent of Thomas Hart Benton
Okay.
in this regional kind of thing that,
Okay.
had kind of a darkness to it. I mean, you get a little bit of it in this very early
Right, I
landscape.
see. Okay.
And then, of course, you see like an influence of another great Provincetown painter, Ross Moffat, in this
Yeah, that's
winter
beautiful.
scene. Just the brushwork
Right.
is amazing. And by the 50s, she's kind of moving into. She did this series of like aquatic and
Right.
underwater.
I love
Just
it.
clearly fascinated by nature.
Right. Okay.
See any of those on the swim?
I see them all the time.
Again, the yellow rose is a beautiful example of still life and how her art had kind of changed by 1952.
Right. When we had the still life show, and we were going to the mandolins over here.
This
So
is a nice early one.
nice early one.
Picasso kind of related.
But what was also very clear then, which I hadn't even noticed, you had pointed out the similarities between the paintings. What was it?
the serpentine.
It's the same. It's everything's done on the same table, so you see that
And
serpentine
we
in all
had
of
the whole
paintings.
wall we've done like that, and you can see some of those
Right.
back over at Seashore Point
Right.
over on Alden Street.
Okay. Great.
And again, some more of the watercolors at the Harbor Hotel.
Right, we've got them all over. Great.
And clearly, again,
Cats.
another, from the 50s, like how the cats have kind of changed and they're out. in
Right,
the
they are totally
field.
different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right, the whole flow. And I'm just going to pan over there because even though you see
Well,
the glare and
these are like really great.
the colors of this Provincetown scene is just amazing. And this thing,
And-
you're just going to turn it. Look at that. That's great. Look at these women on the beach.
This is actually very interesting. It's like almost like a painter of the time, Abraham Walkowitz.
Okay.
And it's just whimsical.
Right.
Why you see the sunburn on the legs.
She does. She's got little red legs.
And then her friends out in the water, help!
So, and it's funny because I hadn't even realized that this was, again, you've only had this for 9 years. So, I mean, this is a new to the market.
It's the first time we
first time
really
exhibited.
put them out.
And it's so important because, again, we just had the Alvin Ross show, and that was really successful. And again, that was, even though he was probably more well known, I mean, the museum
Here in Provincetown,
his,
there were people that wanted to keep his memory alive.
Right, right. But it's as a collector and somebody who champions this work, our gallery is about historical Provincetown art. It's pretty special to have new work. Because you can get in because, again, it hasn't reached prices that are...
We're very excited, like after the show of my collection and travel from the New Bedford Art Museum to the Cape Cod Museum, it kind of went, to Seashore Point when they were building, and so we never really disturbed it until, frankly, you said, why